is going to try to call in, but she might want to table some of her items. Just a heads up.
Okay, all right. Okay, it's 5:34. I'm going to call the meeting of Middleton Community Development Authority for May 13, 2021 to order. And the first item on the agenda is the roll call. Abby.
Barker,
Here.
Barron,
I think she is here, right?
I saw her. She's just muted.
Yeah, she's on telephone. So how would you reach her?
I just asked to unmute her.
Okay.
I'm not
Oh,
sure.
I finally got it unmuted.
Oh.
Hey guys, I was double muted.
Okay,
so
she did speak up. So.
double muted. It was hard to get off.
All right. Furlong,
Here.
Nelson,
Here.
Oaks. I did not see Kari join. Olson is not here. Brar is present. Weber is absent and
Yeah.
had mentioned he couldn't make it.
Okay. Well, I guess Kathy Nelson would join at some stage.
We have
I don't
5
know
of
about
8.
Kari, so what? Okay. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. So need a motion to approve. Unless you have any questions or comments or changes.
I'll make a motion. This is Kieran.
Okay, Karen made a motion to approve. Need a second.
Katie, I'll
This is
second.
Linda.
Okay, second by Katie. So any questions or comments or changes? I think Abby did a pretty good job in recording what happened. So, okay, all those in favor of approval of the minutes say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. We are on to a big thing, downtown landscaping proposal, D and Mike Davis. D Finnegan and Mike Davis. Is it D Finnegan or Mike? Who is going to present it?
I'll start and then Dee can fill in the details and address any questions that you may have.
Yes.
I have a memo in the packet that provides an overview of the landscaping proposal. You can see that the total is just over $12,000 to address in a similar manner to what the CDA approved for the West Slope Garden of City Hall and the front of City Hall. For the Terrace Avenue Municipal Parking Lot and the library lot islands, as well as the Terrace Avenue, library parking lot area as well. Hopefully you've had a chance to look through Dee's proposal. It's very similar to what you saw previously, the same kind of plantings, the concept of using nativars with more color, but yet native and more sustainable for the long run, less maintenance, although there's always maintenance. And I have confirmed that the Library and Tourism Commission are on board for their allocations this year. That's a total of $6,000. And with those, we will hire an additional limited term employee that will assist Dee. That is, if we can find somebody, because right now the market is pretty tough for hiring limited term employees, and we've had some difficulty with that. The total amount that would then go to the city council for a budget amendment would be $25,000, including the revenues from library and tourism. So since Bill Burns been with the city, the CDA, which previously had been independent of the city council, is now taking all budget amendments to the city council for approval. And I think if it's the use of CDA funds, the city council has usually been very supportive of that. So Dee, would you like to give an overview of the proposal?
Mike, I don't think we have taken any of this stuff to the city council in the past. I don't remember it. But
I don't know
maybe-
that we've done a city budget, a CDA budget amendment in the past 5 years since Bill's been here. So that's probably why. But
Okay.
he likes to do budget amendments for all of the enterprise funds, which the CDA is, as is tourism, golf course, utility, all of those. He likes to have those go to the city council. And I think the auditors appreciate that too.
Okay, all right, let's keep them happy, so. Okay, Dee, you are up.
I actually don't have it in front of me, but if
Abby
any,
can put it on the screen for you.
okay. And I can't actually see what's on the screen. I don't know how to get that. I just have the folks on the cameras.
Maybe can you hover over the bar where you're seeing the faces and see if there's a way to minimize it? There should be 4 symbols at the top, and I wonder if your box is just so big that it's covering the proposal.
No, I don't think so.
Can everybody else see the front of library parking lot right here?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Um,
I tried all the buttons.
What about the
you-
one? Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask Dee if she has active speaker or which view she's asking the computer.
Let's see, I've got the show grid video.
Okay, so you want to click on the one on the left that says hide thumbnail video maybe, or the second one, show small active speaker video.
Okay. Yeah,
you
I
see
still don't have the,
Well, Dee, you probably know this by heart.
yeah, I mean, basically what I came up with was appropriate plans for the islands of the library, the front of the library, and the municipal parking lot area. So what I did was, as Mike said, mixed a variety of plants that will bloom at different times. There's a density of plants that I put together that'll help, show color at different times of the season. As I've used some bulbs, some natives and nativars, and I think it's a really good combination. I did some consideration for non-season color as well. There's a bunch of shrubs that go to the back of the library parking lot, and they will have a bright red characteristic during the off season as well. So what else? Any specific questions?
I actually think, Dee, you presented this previously to the CDA on 2 other
Yeah.
occasions. So
Yeah,
the kind of plantings are not drastically different, right?
they aren't. And I know that the one concern about access, closeness to the railroad tracks, I think that's actually going to be an okay issue because the visitor center folks have plants that go right up to the track. and they don't, and they actually do live through that fine. But what I'm thinking of is bringing it back from the tracks and actually creating a little buffer along the parking lots that might be a gravel or something like that, because when cars come to cars come to park in the parking lots, I don't want the plants to come right up to the, to the end of the cars, basically. So that's the only consideration, I think.
And to put that in context, what Dee is referencing is we tried several years ago, Penny Klein and I, to get the railroad to agree not to spray for weeds if we were going to plant nice plants along the rail corridor, and they wouldn't do that. They spray for weeds probably twice per summer, fall, and there is a fall zone for their spraying. And so what Dee is referencing is that the plants that she would install would be outside of the fall zone for their spraying, which is about 6 feet on either side of the tracks.
Right.
And I think that's excellent. The only thing which you have along the railroad tracks is the weeds, even though they may be spraying there. So
That's
yeah, I
exactly
think
right.
what you see, what you have presented here is, looks very good. And those circles represent that how big those plants are going to get. So I think, any questions for Dee? So please raise your hand. So I don't see any hands raised right now. So, okay, well, I will ask and get a start. So I looked at the details. So you have a lot of money spent on shipping, nearly $2,000. So where are they coming from? Or could you combine it that we don't end up paying a huge whole lot on the shipping there? So.
Right. There were a couple of specific places. Bluestone Perennials was one that had a really nice wide variety of plants. I actually took a trip to Bruce Company today and found quite a few, either that were the exact plant that I had called for, or I found an alternative that would work just as well. So, hopefully between the local nurseries, we'll be able to come up with the majority of the plants. But I didn't want to, underestimate what it could be, especially, trying to find various plants throughout this season.
So then your price is really the upper limit. So the motion should be up to.
Absolutely.
So, but, and that's probably a good thing to have a sort of a upper limit. Well, any questions for Dee? So I think we had wanted these parking lots to be done and she's doing it. So I don't see any raised hands. I think this is good that we had wanted it and it's finally happening. So do we need a motion to approve then?
I've got one question.
Go ahead. Okay.
What's the total? So this one is $12,000 or so. I'm just wondering what the total for the side garden, front of the city hall, and the strip along by the library parking lot.
That's 19,000 altogether, Kieran.
1,000 altogether. So 12,000 for the library stuff, and 7,000 for the side of the city hall.
Yeah, I'd call it 12,000 for the parking lots.
Okay.
Right, because it's not really library property, although library patrons use it.
The south side of Hubbard, right?
Yeah, yes. And 7,000 for the city hall, which has already been recommended by CDA.
Okay, that's fine. Just wanting to make sure I know the total there. Thank you. Any
more questions? Hopefully this will, so Dee, did you actually have a chance to go on Elmwood Avenue? I was just there the other day and ran into somebody, I see Mike Davis. And if you were to go and look at his front garden, they look so beautiful. Have you seen it? I don't know whether they are nativers or not. There are a lot of beautiful, going to be lilies, and he got some of the phlox, and he got daffodils, he got tulips. Boy, I think he knows what he's doing.
I'm
n-
waiting for the invitation for the tour.
I don't know
Yeah.
nearly as much as Dee. I am an amateur.
I was very impressed. I thought we could transfer some of those plants right to the city hall.
In the middle of the
and
night.
pour. I mean, wouldn't that be neat? I have so many great plants of phlox if you wanted to, and I got, as I look here, I got lots of lilies too. In
I
any
planted a
case,
bunch of milkweed last fall in hopes that it comes up and provides ample butterfly habitat too.
so you call phlox and all of those tulips and daffodils as nativers, or they're a little bit?
No, I wouldn't
Oh,
call
I was
those.
just asking.
Yeah,
I was just asking Dee, Mike.
Mayor, you're looking for a motion to approve?
Yes, okay, and I think that's probably a good idea.
Okay, before I propose such a motion, any dissenters? Any comments, I should say?
I think it's good. You want to make a motion up to 12,061.80. So
Definitely up to, and any savings would be appreciated. So I'll make the motion to approve the expenditure for the library parking lot, library lot islands and library back parking lot and Terrace Avenue municipal parking lot as outlined in the meeting materials.
okay,
I
need
will,
a
I will second. This is Katie.
second by Katie. Any questions or comments now? Any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Okay, anyone opposed? So the motion passes. So Dee, go ahead and remember, you have a lot of people available to help you. So Kathy told you and Dan and I'm available, whenever. So I think we all want to help you, but let's get it done now. So wonderful. Thank you.
Dee, just to
Okay.
clarify, with the ship or the acquisition of the plants, if we put in the acquisition request or purchase order on next Wednesday, do you have any sense of the timing of when we'd be able to get the plants?
Well, it depends on which garden you're talking about. The slope garden next to the city hall, we've got plants coming in May 27th, and it's and some other plants early in June. As far as the other plants, I think it's just a question of me, locating them and taking a truck over and picking them up. I don't.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure to ask you that because I know there's been some supply issues for some of the nurseries.
Right. Obviously for the bulbs, we'll be planting them in fall for next spring. And there are some other plants that we will probably need to do that as well.
Now, when you need help, let's know ahead of time. We will all come and, come and help you. So just do let us know. And as Kathy said, that whole junction, Middleton Junction neighborhood, they all want to help because, then they all have a ownership. So you do want to involve people so that they have some ownership and they are proud of it. And you will also get to know them. Okay, all right.
sounds great.
So thank you, Dee. So let's get it done. So item number 3, recommendation that city vacates public land to the Valencia Lofts condos, Ellenwood Avenue, 77. Wow,
Okay.
7777 Ellenwood Avenue.
Right, and we do have Amy Radspinner, who is the representative from the Valencia Lofts Condo Association, is on the call tonight. I will say that the history of this has been a bit of a no man's land for quite some time. When the CDA and the Plan Commission were the same group of individuals at one time, and that was allowed by law, but they were later split into two different bodies. So I don't know that we have any common members other than the mayor of those two organizations now, but in the past, they were the same people. So when we first were discussing the redevelopment of the entire Cayuga Court and what I call the west side of downtown area back in 2001, 2002, and then it was redeveloped in 2003. The concept was for that area in front of the Valencia Lost Condos to be an open space park-like area. The Park Recreation and Forestry Commission decided that they did not want to take such a small parcel and make it into a park at that time. So the CDA and the Plan Commission both were of the mind that they'd still like to preserve that area from development. And from what Amy has told me, there is no interest from the condo owners to develop there, and they'd be willing to stipulate to that as well. What has happened is that the residents actually maintain it all as if it was their own. They cut the grass, they take care of the trees. About the only thing the city has done over the years is to repair the planting boxes in front. And frankly, we haven't done that really well. They continue to fall apart a bit each year. So the residents of the condos approached us back in 2019. Staff and the mayor sat down. We came up with 5 alternatives. It was almost 2 years ago, so the mayor didn't really remember that so well, but
Thank you for letting that know. I did not really, I may have been there, but I don't really remember it. So many things happened. So thank
yeah,
you,
and
Mike.
it's been a while. We came
Yep.
up with these 5 options for consideration. We presented those to the condo association, and then in March of this year, I believe it was Amy who got back in touch with me and said that they would be interested in what is option number 1 on this list. And that is the city vacates the land of the condos and they maintain, pay taxes on the additional property. Currently, they don't. The outlot is a tax exempt parcel right now. So the difference would be that they would become owners. We'd have a stipulation that they would, that the land could not be developed, that it would be maintained as an open space area, and that they would pay taxes on the additional property, which is about, I think Abby said, 3/10 of an acre. Is that right, Abby?
That is my recollection. I was gonna quick go to the CSM and look. Yeah, it's 10,911 square feet.
So maybe more like a quarter of an acre. So it's been one of those issues that's been unsettled for a long time, in that the city has not developed that as a park. We haven't even publicly denoted it with a sign of any sort. And the condo owners have maintained it for now going on 18 years. Because the grand opening was September of 2003. I was there for it. So my recommendation is that we take to the city council the recommendation to vacate this property. It can legally be done according to our attorneys. And then we have a clean record with the condo association, with the stipulation that they would not be able to build on the outlot. Now, there does appear to be a slight encroachment on the outlot, but that existed prior to the redevelopment of the property to begin with. So it'd be for no further encroachment onto the outlot.
Thank you, Mike. Well, it's a city property, and for the Stone Horse Green, we paid $400,000. So when Arlene was here, I had wanted park in this area, and that's, I guess, Arlene started looking into it, and this area was identified, but it didn't really go very far. And my contention is that we need a playground, and this may be one of the best places in downtown. We need a more green space in any case. So, and I went to go and look at it, and I talked to a few people who were just walking around. They said, well, we didn't even know it was a city space. And they actually wanted more benches and a sign so that they could use it. So I think my contention is if we can get, I asked Abby that who owns that lot number 3, if we could get more land, well, this by itself is pretty good for making a park there. And I know that that Mike said that park commission didn't really get excited about it early on, but city council has the power and authority that our park department should maintain it, and we should have a playground there. So there are a lot of kids downtown, and there's hardly anything there for them to play. And the closest, which I remember, is the Middleton station there. So I don't think that city can just give this land away to somebody just like this. It's about, I don't know, there isn't a whole lot of land downtown or anywhere here now. We have been trying to get even small pieces of land in that southwest quadrant, and not very successful. And this is really tailor-made for having a playground. So that's what I would be interested in. And whatever, it's wonderful that the condos have maintained it, and they have enjoyed it. So I mean, it's their front yard, and even if they want to have even going forward, if they want to maintain it, they can use it just like a park, and more other people can use it too. So that's I don't think that there are going to be a whole lot of land available downtown, and for green space, we got to maintain every little piece of land which we can, and if we can even buy more, we should do it. So that we can have more green space, more parks for our citizens. So that's my contention. So I don't know. Well, how about I'd like to hear. Okay, Dan Barker has his hand up, and also Karen Furlong. I don't know who was first, but
Dan was first.
Okay, Dan, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Mike, it's been a long day. I'm sorry. Could you nutshell me again how come you'd like to see it given back? And then I have some commentary after that, please.
Yeah, the planters are falling apart. They are an obligation of the city to maintain. Replacing them, I don't know what the cost would be, Dan, but it would be considerable. It'd have to come out of either the CDA budget to do so, or from the city's general fund. I believe the cost of doing that is going to be pretty considerable. I have no idea how much exactly. I haven't looked into that. And I think that will be a regular reoccurring issue. If we start to cut the grass there, then there will be an additional cost for that is not contemplated in the parks budget. So it creates an ongoing problem, or could create an ongoing problem. And maybe the condos would continue maintaining and accepting the city is not maintaining the property. But to me, that just doesn't seem right.
I hear what you're saying, Mike. Thank you. A few things, if I may. 100% back up the mayor on this one. As a matter of fact, I've lived here, 5-6 years? I never knew that was public. I thought the condos owned that, to tell you the truth. I've never stepped foot on that grass in the 6 years I lived down the street from there. To your point, Mike, absolutely, the CDA should and can fund it. We can't let this go. 100%, Mayor, right on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And wait, okay, Karen?
Yeah, so I guess I'm trying to get to the nub of the issue here, right? Because I'm aligned in that I'm very, with the mayor and with Dan, that I'm very reluctant to give up public land right in downtown. But I think we have a few issues here, right? It looks like the Parks Commission at some point has decided that downtown kind of pocket parks are not a priority for it. I personally haven't attended any Parks Commission meetings yet, I think, or at least not in the last year. So perhaps I'd like to hear that commission's point of view on the space. But Amy's on the meeting here, and I'd love to hear Amy's point of view, because if the main issue is lack of upkeep of the planters and the land, and the fact that, you know, that's basically been left to the condo association to foot the bill for, you know, let's have that discussion. So at this point, I'd like to invite Amy just to give, sorry, Katie, I see you've got your hand up, but it would be good just to hear Amy's point of view from the condo association.
Okay, so maybe Katie and then Amy, or Katie, you want Amy to go first?
I would like to let Amy talk first.
Okay, go ahead, Amy.
Well, first of all, thank you for hearing me. I greatly appreciate it. And then, as you can imagine, I'm very nervous hearing what you have to say, because for the past 18 years, we have paid not only for the upkeep of the land, but we've improved the land. We've allowed everybody to be on the land. We have, you know, snow removal, caring for the grass, not just by cutting, but also improving, pruning of the trees and all of the shrubbery. The way that this whole thing started was because, as the president of the Condominium Association several years ago, I was asked to see what we could do about the planters, you know, just what could we do, because the way in which that they had been repaired was just with some cementous something that patched it and didn't solve the problem. And so it was at that time that I met with everyone and we discussed what the different opportunities were. Our intent is to continue to keep it a beautiful space for everyone to be able to enjoy. And I guess I understand that some people wouldn't know that this is a place that everyone can enjoy, but a lot of people do come, have, you know, bring their dogs, sit on the benches. Our hope is that we can retain it in the same beautiful way that we have been, not for just us, but for the whole city. There is so little green area. And to be quite honest, during this COVID period, to see what's been happening on the green space over in the more common areas has been awesome. But I also think that that has definitely benefited, you know, the developers of that area. So our hope is just, our intent is just to be able to maintain it as beautifully as we have in the past, and keep it a space that developers can't get their hands on, and keep it a green space.
And I think we're aligned on that, Amy. And I think that's maybe for this conversation. So some of us, this is the first time we're talking about this, Amy. But I think seeking the points of alignment is a great place to start. And I think we're fully aligned on keeping this a green space and open. And sorry, Katie, I just wanted to respond, but yielding to Katie.
Katie, go ahead.
Thank you. I agree that I just wanted to point out that everybody's just not wanting it to be developed. And I really love the way that the condo association has kept, the crab trees are absolutely stunning, and they've kept them pruned beautifully. And they've put a lot of money into this. And as long as their intention is to never let it get developed and to keep it as a green space, I'm in alignment with Mike. That's all.
Okay, thank you. And anyone
this
else?
Yeah, this is Kari, and I'm calling in. I apologize, I'm in the car. So, sorry I can't raise my hand, but I guess I wanted to ask a couple of questions. I mean, first of all, when you were talking about a playground, Mayor, I don't know if I would be totally comfortable thinking of that as the best spot for play structures for children in the downtown, but it's an excellent point that we really are lacking that. Like, I think you have to go to the District Administrative Center playground to find play structures for children in the immediate downtown area, but I don't know that that's the best spot for that. I'm trying to figure out what changes, aside from just knowing that you have the ownership, Amy, if you would have to continue incurring the expenses that you're incurring right now, and you'd be paying property taxes on that property. Is it just sort of a sense of justice, or would you then, do you think that the condo association would be more comfortable putting in the expense to go ahead and replace the planters? Like, are the planters a sticking point? We're just trying to figure out what prompted this.
So what
Amy?
prompted it was the planters originally, and that's when all of this sort of came to be. So, okay, so we have a situation where the city doesn't know who owns it, quite honestly. Nobody really wants to pay for it. We're in a situation where we've been paying for snow removal, care for the lawn, mulch, plantings for the past 18 years, because we care about where we live and we want it to be beautiful. We've in no way kept anyone from being able to enjoy this space. Our continuation of this, you know, it wasn't about owning the space initially. It was what came up when we said, hey, we'd really like these planters to be fixed. And that was one of the solutions that at the meeting on the board that was like, well, what if we gave it to you? What if we bought it? What if you, right? So here's another situation that I kind of like to bring up today too, and that is that this is a historical building downtown that I feel like brings some interest to the space because it is so old. We have just taken out a loan last year for $250,000 to repair the brick on this building, and that is just on the sides of the building. And I'm not talking the long sides, I'm talking the end. So this is a long haul for us as the condominium owners, and there's very few of us. It's not a large condominium association. So we're pretty strapped for money right now because we've taken out this $250,000 loan, and that will continue to happen as we need to replace the front and the back. So it's what started out with planters has kind of escalated into this huge thing. But what we're willing to do is continue paying for what we've been doing because we care about our building and we care about the way that it looks as well. And would we do something about the planters immediately? We would do something. I'm not sure what it is, right? But we would continue to care for the space in the way that we have and continue to improve it in a way that everybody could utilize it and that it would be an asset to downtown. But that's how this process started. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
Okay.
So Dan Barker, Kim Furlong, and then Mike Davis. So Amy, I just want to let you know that I don't think there are too many people who know that this is a public space. And I actually didn't know myself. And then once I did get to know, then this early, well, it might have been snow was gone, but early this spring, I did go around there and look at the planters. At that time, I didn't even know the planters belonged to the condos of the city. So any case, now I do. So when I go there the next time, I will have a careful look at all of these things. But you know, we are on the same side. We want you guys to enjoy it, and you have maintained it and enjoyed it for 18 years, and which is wonderful. And so we will see that I will look at the planters and what else needs to be done. We want to make it beautiful, and you probably wouldn't mind that if we put a sign there that it's a public place. So Dan, and then Ken, and then Mike.
Yeah, just a few points. Kind of stepping back, I envision this staying a green space, not so much a playground. Apologies to the mayor. More just stone horse green too, where we improve it and make it better. As far as intentions and giving it over to the condo, I think that's great. But I've also seen companies go bankrupt, and that piece of property there is going to be worth a lot of money. Thanks.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll weigh in here as well. So first of all, Amy, look, I can even hear it from you. Obviously, the condo association, you and your colleagues there have been shouldering the brunt of this for a long time and doing the upkeep. And I think we should just note that with real strong appreciation, okay? It sounds like one of the main issues here is we're both aligned on, well, everyone's aligned on this, in that we all want this to be kept as an open space, a green space, a beautiful place for the condo residents and their downtown neighbors and visitors to downtown to enjoy. So I think those are all positives. And I think we really can't rely on the condo association to shoulder the burden of the upkeep, right? So I think that's the crux of the matter here. And Amy, correct me if I'm wrong on that one. You know, Dan makes a valid point in that times change. And while you and the condo association now are like, yep, it's going to be public, we're going to maintain it, and we could potentially figure out legal ways to make sure that that stays forever. You know, there could be a changing of the guard at some point and signs start popping up saying private property keep out, and next there's a fence or whatever. And those are all like boundary cases that may not happen, and they're off in the distant future. But I think those are the considerations. I think what we need to address is, what is it that we all want it to be a green open space? The condo association doesn't want to be left holding the bag when it comes to the cost of upkeep, which I think is only fair if it is a public space. So I think that's the main issue to try and get at. And you know, I see Mike is going to talk, and then Amy definitely way back in again. But just let's be clear, we're really appreciative of what you've done so far, and we also want to maintain it as a green, beautiful space for you.
Dan Barker agreed. Thanks, Karen.
Mike and then Belinda.
I think I have a potential compromise that might work for most of us, maybe all of us. And that is, there is such a thing as a public use easement over such property. We, for example, have a public use easement at my bank, which suddenly I'm forgetting the name. Oh, BMO. The corner there where we have the benches, that's actually a public use easement area that the city secured when the redevelopment was done back in 1999 for that property. So there are benches there. People do use that. I don't think we have a sign there, but we do have a public use easement, and the bank maintains it. So that might be a means by which we can secure this for the long term, actually perpetually with an easement as a public space that is privately maintained. And I think that would address the concerns that I've heard from Dan and Kieran. And if the condo association is willing to continue maintaining, I think that it works out. We could put a sign there that this is a public use easement area, in our appreciation to the Valencia Lofts condos for maintaining it as such.
Mike, I didn't know that the area in front of the bank was an easement or whatever. I don't think very many people know it either.
No,
So
no,
we
they
better,
don't.
Yeah, well, we better let people know it's a public space.
Mike,
Okay.
you can't retire. Nobody knows anything but you.
I know where
Yeah,
a
we-
lot of the bodies are buried. That's true.
It's true.
Belinda,
Thanks, neighbor.
Belinda,
All right. Can you hear me now?
yeah.
Yes.
Hello? Okay, awesome. When we were talking about how long the condo association has been maintaining the land, can you remind me if it was 18 years or 20 years?
It's 18 years now.
Okay, because there is an adverse possession law that says at 20 years there's potential for the land to revert. So that's good. I appreciate hearing both sides of the argument and hearing about that. I have mixed feelings. I think that the additional playground space for downtown would be nice for neighbors and things. But I also see the condo associations, their point on the matter as well. So at this point, I don't really have opinion either way just yet. So I'd like to hear more conversation, but thank you.
When you get a chance, can you reach back and connect?
I think the mayor dropped.
All right. Amy, any response to some of the comments so far?
Yeah, I'm a bit horrified, to be quite honest. I mean, we have taken this land and cared for it so carefully, and to think that there might be like I don't know. I feel like there might be some relationships that we can work on. I appreciate Mike Davis coming up with some opportunities. I of course have to bring it back to our condo association, which is, I mean, it took us this long to decide if we should even approach this, but yeah, I mean, we're talking about a huge loss, quite honestly, to like if we were going to put in swing sets and have festivals and,
Yeah, hang on. I mean, I think that's all stuff for the future. I mean, I think the way it is right now, let's just talk about that. And then there's the underlying issue of ownership, Amy. But I mean, what we're looking for here is to try and figure a way forward that works for everyone, right? So I'm not, yeah, I mean, definitely look, this is something I think there needs to be further conversation on. For what it's worth, like the building, I think it's got great character. It's a great, it adds a lot to downtown. And I do think it's something that can be a focal point. It sounds like you guys have been, like I said, shouldering this burden, and we're trying to figure out, okay, how can we help? But you have to understand on the other side that this is public land, that, those of us on the committees and, within the city have to consider as, okay, what's the duty by the ownership of the land itself? So I think let's look at this from a point of view of trying to find the points of alignment and the positive approach. I don't think anyone is, there's no decision I think being made here, because there's obviously more conversation that needs to be had. But like, I think we want to figure out something that works for the condo association, for you and your neighbors.
I think that would be great.
Yeah, I'm with Karen and the others. Amy, nobody's, putting anything there. We want to, as Karen said and the other said, we are very thankful that you have been maintaining it and keeping it in good shape and enjoying it. And I think if I was there, I would do the same. Actually, in my case, I maintain, do a lot of flower planting in the neighborhood park here, which is even away from my house. So, but that's at my option. So I think the whole thing, as I said earlier, didn't even know that this was a city-owned property, and it
right.
was
So you can understand, Mayor, that while I bring this up because I just, in good faith, came to discuss maybe helping us out maintaining the planters, we're now discussing the fact that this land is going to become something else.
Okay.
And
well,
all we want to do
right.
is maintain it in the same way that we have for everybody to use. And now we're having discussions around playgrounds. You can understand that, right?
Okay, absolutely.
Okay.
So let's work on we will help you with I will come and look at the planters, and and we will help you whatever help you need. And I also talked to Mike that if we need to take it to the, the Parks and Recreation Board, where they also started, if they could handle the main, anyway, I think maybe, we need to have further discussion, and this is maybe the point where we can stop it. And Ken and Katie, and we can discuss it, at some other time. I think, look at the options and see where we can go. So I don't think we are going to decide anything on this one. Katie, or who was first, Ken or Katie?
Katie,
I
was
think
your-
I was.
Okay, go ahead, Katie.
2 points. I can see where Amy's coming from, like our great gratitude doesn't really cut it when they've put in a ton of money and time on this property. And then my second point is that Kathy Olson really wanted us to defer this anyway. And so until she's back in town, I texted her, she is not able to join us on the call. So she would really like it to all be deferred anyway. So that's all.
So you want to make that motion then? Well, Ken, go ahead. and
I
then-
do. I do.
Okay.
Right. Well, look, I don't want to defer the conversation at this point because, Amy has come to our meeting, she's representing the condo association and her neighbors. And I really don't want you to leave thinking, the beautiful space you have in front of your building is about to change, right? So that's the last thing I'd want you to leave with here. I think what we are recognizing is the condo association has been shouldering the burden of upkeep and so on. And many of us on this committee were not around or part of city decision-making, 18 years ago, whenever this all happened. But I think we have to recognize that going forward, there's a gap there that needs to be plugged if we've been relying on a private association to upkeep public land, okay? So I think that's the first thing, Amy, I want to make sure that you're aware. That's what you've brought to our attention. And that's something that we need to figure out how to address. I don't think we need to talk about changing anything here at this point. What we do need to talk about is who's paying for the upkeep of the space. And that's, I think, one of the main issues, okay? Beyond that, I think this is obviously a complex issue. There's been discussions, obviously, with Mike and so on, but for the CDA, for some of us, many of us maybe, it's the first time we're hearing and discussing this. And because of the complexity and the fact that it is addressing land in our downtown area, it's something that requires further thought. So Katie, if you want to go ahead and make the motion to defer further discussion, I'm willing to second that, but we should also maybe allow for some additional conversations outside of the meeting with a subcommittee or something, so that we can learn more about it.
Mayor?
Yep. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, thank you. I just wanted to ask you as the chair, if I am again having phone problems, and I'm sorry, but I wanted to ask if I could just point one thing before we move ahead.
Go ahead.
Is that okay?
Yep.
Yeah, thanks. So I do think, not for this meeting, and I dropped off for a bit, so maybe, but I think that this thing that Mike is pointing out, the difficulty of incorporating the idea of maintenance of these smaller pocket areas of green and recreational space in our urban downtown, is going to be an ongoing problem. And that doesn't really relate to what we're going to do in this area, but I think this is something that CDA, as we talked in our meeting,
To Kari's point, if I could speak again.
Okay, go ahead.
It was not just for the downtown that PRFC does not want to accept small pocket parks. It's for the entire city. And it's just a matter of not having the resources, as I was explaining to the mayor earlier. When I first started here in 1998, I think the 2000 census was 13,000 people in Middleton. We've grown to about 22,000. So we've grown by about 2/3 in population. We've added parks. We've never added full-time park staff. We've had seasonal employee adjustments, but the PRFC has been pretty strong. It's in their comprehensive park plan that they don't want to have small parks added because of the maintenance and the maintenance costs. And I completely understand that viewpoint. The mayor's right, they might reconsider that, but I doubt it given the circumstances we have financially. One of the things to consider with all of that is this kind of public use easement that might work. And what I heard Amy responding to most vehemently was the concept of a playground on that space. And I heard others say, we'd like to see it maintained as green space. And to Karen's point, that's where we're all on the same page. That's the common bond that we are talking about here, I think. I didn't hear any other support for a playground on this space.
I just wanted to say, Mike, that for a long time, I have asked for that to find a place. And that's what it is. I have been saying that this city needs more playgrounds for the children. And I had asked Eileen at one time, and so this is when I became aware of this place. So we need to find some place, I don't know where, but you cannot ignore the next generation of children and not provide them the playing spaces. That's everybody, my responsibility, city councils and all the staff. We are responsible to our citizens and we have to treat them alike, and we have to provide them with the facilities which they deserve. And you know, for PRFC, maybe they need to reprioritize that what's important, and I'm going to talk to them. So you know, I think I'm very passionate about children, and I think so is everyone else. But here, I think it's I'm okay if we maintain this as a green space, and still we look at you know, how we can serve our children in our cities in some other ways. So Dan
Mayor?
Barker, you have a hand up. Dan Barker?
Yeah, sorry, Mayor. Yep, sorry. Just another comment, just to kind of echo what everyone said again, and for Amy. I really want us to pay for this. We pay for snow removal and a lot of things downtown. Let's pay for this in the summertime. Thanks.
Mayor?
Yep, go ahead.
Sorry, I can't raise my hand.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
was just going to mention, I know Mike mentioned the pocket park issue, and I know that PRFC has in the past been really opposed to pocket parks, but I think they're changing their tune on pocket parks because their comprehensive open space plan that they just approved in 2020 or early 2021 has quite a few recommendations for pocket parks. I remembered this because I was surprised when I heard the presentation from Becky Benz at MSA Professional Services. But what they said is that due to the level of infill development that the city is experiencing, where we're growing up instead of out, we aren't going to get a lot of opportunities for greenfield sites for new parks. And so because of that, they are actually recommending that the city move more toward a model of smaller parks where you can actually get a small amount of land within the city limits that can be used for a park. And I'm showing on my screen here some of the recommendations from the comprehensive recreation plan.
Thank you, Abby. That's excellent. So I think we are on the same wavelength. And so I think I sent you the information. There's one new development, affordable housing happening in Madison. It's about 70 or 80 units, and they have, you know, I don't know what their ordinance is. They have all the facilities there. They even have a basketball court and playground. So I think going forward, you know, I think we have to make sure that when there's any apartment building or some such structure with 100 or more apartments, there should be some facility for the children. Well, that's a different issue. So let's not go there. So here's a motion to defer. This has been seconded. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? of the-
Sorry,
Yeah,
I-
Karen?
okay. Like, it seems like we need to have some further discussion on this, right? I mean, so Amy, again, appreciate you coming to the meeting. Mike, appreciate you putting the proposal forward, but this is obviously a big decision for the CDA, and I think it's something that needs further discussion on our side. And Amy, we absolutely want to hear you, and you know, the representation you're providing for you and your neighbors. But I just think rather than just say, okay, we'll come back to it the next meeting, there needs to be some discussion in between now and the next meeting if it's being deferred to then. So
No, it's at some stage. And Amy, before Katie says, I want to assure you that we are not doing anything to that space right now. We actually would want to help you. I will come and look at those planters and the other things too. Now I know, you know, up to what point is this area which belongs to the city. Katie?
I just would happily take away my motion if we just want to end the discussion tonight and bring it back, or however you want to do it. We can keep the motion, but I really, at the risk of causing problems, I don't like discussion of playground and then, oh, by the way, we're not talking about playgrounds. We are talking about playgrounds. Let's just please not put this tension on this situation. And so I don't know where to go with it, but
it's a separate issue, Katie, right? That whole thing of where we're putting playgrounds, that's a separate issue from the discussion over the ownership of Outlot 1 at 7777, right?
I
think
feel like
Yeah.
I'm taking on this stress for Amy because I feel her horror.
Right, no, I think that's the point we need to make clear. Anything about what, you know, playgrounds and so on is a separate discussion. This is more a discussion around Outlot 1 on here and who has ownership of it and who is paying for upkeep, which I think is the critical point for Amy and the condo association as well. But Amy, I'm speaking for you. Please weigh in.
And we want to help her out, so, yeah, go
It's
ahead.
not
Amy.
about being helped out, quite honestly. At this point, I feel like it's being taken advantage of. So all of a sudden, you now know this is land that you own because I came to you in good faith for helping us with the planters. And now all of a sudden, it's your land. Where we have been taking care of this area for almost 20 years now. And it's absolutely true that at 20 years, we could have taken it over. We could have kept our mouths shut. And quite honestly, that came up. But in good faith, we came and said, what can we do? What shall we do? Can you help us fix these planters? And now, because it's aware to you, to your point, Mayor, there is a changing of the guard, and there's a changing of the guard with you. And every time there will be a changing of the guard. And so that is why we want to own the land, because there will be a changing of the guard in the city that will change their mind about how they want to manage it. And we would like to keep it exactly as it is, a place where people can come, the beautiful land that it is. I quite honestly think we would do a better job of keeping up the place than the city would because of the money that you have. I mean, if you look at your planters and the kinds of things that are going on, we mulch, we plant, we prune, we fertilize, we lay seed. And we like it that way, of course, because it's our home. We're not asking for your help. What we're asking is to be able to have a place that we can control in the way that your changing of the guard doesn't change that. So to your point, that's my concern, is the changing of the guard.
Thank you, Amy. We will find an amicable solution, so.
That'd be great.
Okay, so the motion is to defer, and this will be, we will have more discussions and find a solution. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
We have a second?
I thought you did second it, Karen, did you not?
Okay, all right, same motion. Okay, yes, aye.
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 Okay. Anyone opposed? Okay, so the motion passes. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Mike, and thank you, everyone else. Really appreciate that. Okay. Item number 4, discussion of the
Mayor?
part. Yep.
Andrea Van Nest has been waiting patiently. Could we go back to item number 1?
Oh, okay. Okay, let's go to update from the Downtown Middleton Business Association and request for support for marketing communication coordinator. Okay, go ahead, please.
All right. Hello. Thank you, everybody, for letting me join in today. And I apologize for not being able to attend last month. But happy to have the opportunity to give an update. I know last month, Abby brought our request forward. We're looking for a grant again this year to help with our marketing communications coordinator position. And rightly so, you had asked to have an update on how things have been going with the support you've given over the past year. So I can fill that in, give you some updates. I will start with just in general, last year's grant that you gave us to help us with the communication coordinator. We hired Sarah Sold Out for that. We had her through the end of December, and then she took a full-time position with the Red Cross, actually. And she was just an amazing marketing coordinator for us. She helped do so much in terms of growing our social media followings on both Facebook, where we had a presence, and she really got us going on Instagram. Had a ton of engagement, grew our following by quite a lot, by about a third on Facebook, and actually basically created it from scratch on Instagram, got us up over 1,100 followers. She was instrumental in helping with the Pick Your Picnic campaign, not only getting a lot of photography, but also getting that pushed out to the community to help build support for Pick Your Picnic. She did similar work on Story Walk, took on the coordination of Story Walk with the library and all of the 23 businesses and other entities participating in the Story Walk for both the Halloween episode and then the winter version as well. And then she turned her attention in October, I think, to the Local Love offer that we did for the holidays. So along the way, she also got great photography, which we've been able to use with tourism, as well as continue to use for downtown Middleton, and got all of that updated seamlessly on the web, got an e-commerce site up and running on the web to sell Local Love. So just a ton of value that we got from her as our marketing communications coordinator. For Local Love, we produced 1,000 units of our Local Love offer. We ended up, to date, we have sold 254 units. That was mostly through the holidays. Since the holidays, with Sarah gone, we've really been struggling a little bit to have businesses kind of step up and take on, like, having focus to continue the sales. We tried a little bit of a Valentine's Day push. You know, Local Love seemed like a nice fit for Valentine's Day. We tried a little bit of a push for Easter basket gifts. By the time we got to Mother's Day, quite frankly, the businesses and the board members on DMBA, we are just stretched so thin and so in very reactive mode, just dealing with our own businesses, that our ability to take this on and try and do any work on DMBA right now is really taking a back seat for virtually every business and the majority of our board members, quite honestly. So despite all kinds of great ideas on Local Love, we have ideas on putting together a sales piece to send it out to realtors and closing companies. This would be an awesome welcome to Middleton gift for all of the home sales going on. The coupon offers are still good through the end of September, so we still have time for these offers to be utilized. It's still a great value, but just the time, the human resources and the time available to put together any kind of sales pieces, even make phone calls or send out emails, we're struggling to get businesses to find the time to do it. And in fact, we're struggling when we send out calls and emails to even have businesses respond to the request, let alone to jump in and help. So that's where the request came to help. So since we fell short on our sales of Local Love, which was going to be the fundraiser for DMBA for the year, since we weren't able to do the wine walk last year, which historically has been the main fundraiser for DMBA. That's where we were coming back again to see if there's any opportunity to get funding again this year while we continue to try to get our feet underneath us. The good news is it looks like we will be able to do a wine walk this year. We have, again, lots of great ideas. It's just a function of now finding resources to help pull them together. We're interested in the retailers are interested in the sidewalk sale. We've come up with the idea of kind of a strolling series of events to really hit on the positioning that we have of downtown Middleton as a nice, compact, walkable, strollable district. So there could be a shop and stroll, a sip and stroll, a sample and stroll. We've talked about little mini taste of Middleton to get people out to the restaurants. Lots of great ideas. We just need help kind of harnessing the ideas and reaching out to the businesses to help us pull things together. So that was the intent of the request. And so that's kind of the update and where we are. We had great momentum with Sarah's help going through the end of December. And then quite honestly, a lot of the momentum has kind of fallen off in the first 4 months of the year, just given all of the struggles that the businesses have going on, being able to put attention against it.
Dan Barker, you got your hand up.
Yeah,
Question
Andrea,
for-
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I like the walkable, strollable idea. Could we maybe play into that to closing the streets sometimes to kind of maybe on weekends or something like that to encourage that? Has your group changed at all on that? Can we come to?
Yeah, possibly. Although I will tell you that one of the advocacy topics that the businesses have asked us to take on is parking, because parking has become an issue again. Parking was not an issue at all in 2020, and parking is an issue now.
There's not enough underneath the T-wall buildings there?
I don't know how many people are aware, first of all, that there is parking down there. I think it is generally full. Some of the businesses who, like the non-storefront businesses who work in Middleton Center are reporting that it's often full. And so there's not a lot of extra room. Now that's the phase one. I haven't checked in on phase two, but that's just Middleton Center businesses. That's what the parking's for. This goes beyond Middleton Center businesses. You know, now we have employees coming back. So there's opportunity for us.
I'm sorry, I don't follow what you said about it goes outside Middleton Center businesses.
The parking is for customers of Middleton Center businesses.
So you're saying it goes.
And you know, there's many other businesses besides just Middleton Center businesses.
And how does that impact closing down those
employees
streets?
I'm sorry?
How does that impact closing down the street around the Stone Horse Green?
Because
how
we
does
need
that
the parking,
impact businesses outside of Middleton Center?
We need the parking on Hubbard in particular. And that supports not only Middleton Center businesses, but that supports Village Green, it supports Villa Dolce. So and the parking issue isn't just a customer issue, the parking issue is also an employee issue. So as businesses are staffing back up, there's opportunity for us to be working with businesses to give reminders on this is where your staff needs to be parking. There's just, you know, we're having to develop new habits and get back to kind of reminding people on where things are and how to be doing things. And it's a big behavior change from how things were done over the past year. And that's not to say that there's no opportunity to shut down streets. I'm just saying that parking is a potential issue with shutting down the streets.
So could we, Andrea, have on a trial basis just on the weekends and see what happens? Because we got those 3 municipal parking lots, library, and then one on the north side of the library, and then right on that Terrace Avenue, because Terrace Avenue parking lot is usually, it's never full. And then of course, BMO, Harris Bank, and so yeah, I know it's a problem if people want to park right next to it, but if they want to park and walk, which is good for health.
Yeah.
So we could use it as a trial just for a couple of weekends and see what happens, right? I mean, if it's okay with you.
Well, I guess I would ask then, so do we need to close a street to have strollable? And then what's the objective of closing the streets? Are we putting out more seating? Which then I'll tell you, quite honestly, the restaurants right now can barely, with staffing the way it is, can barely support the business that we have right now with the amount of outdoor seating that there already is.
Andrea, we totally want to support the businesses, but we also want to support the people in our community.
No,
You
I
go
get
out
that.
there and you go out there on a weekend and it's packed. We need more space. People want to enjoy that. I guess another question I have for you is, would you be as impacted as Grace would be if we close down the streets? I'm just wondering if perhaps you're more of a stakeholder than some of those other businesses.
I'm thinking more about the retailers, quite honestly. It's the retailers who are more concerned than necessarily.
I would think
am,
if people
my
could
business.
walk around and walk from one store to the other and not have to worry about cars, there's a lot of cars in there. It's packed. But please, I'm sorry, I'll listen.
I'm going to weigh in here, Dan, on this one, because walkable
Okay,
and
go ahead, Ken.
walkable and strollable does not, like, having cars there takes away from walkable and strollable. Okay, so that's been shown in so many developments, so many places around the world, right? So that's a fact. And if it's a case of the retailers want cars to be able to come in, well, folks who want to drive in and park right in front of the store because of whatever issue, they're picking up a large box, they've limited mobility. Let's make sure that we allow time for that to happen. But that could happen earlier in the day. The shutdown could be later, where it allows for, folks are showing up in Stonehorse Green later in the afternoon and in the evening and so on. So I think, again, I'm a big fan of trying to find where are the points of overlap here that will work for everyone. But what I really kind of react to is the blanket, we need parking, when there's so much asphalt around Middleton that's empty and open so much of the time. So if someone needs to park and walk, a few yards, let's let them in, see how enjoyable it is to be in the strollable, walkable, environment, right? So I think there's a discussion to be had, right, around. Katie wants to weigh in here as well. So, but let's hear back from Andrea first.
Katie,
I agree with that. I totally agree that walkable is nice. I also think in general, there is a lot of parking that doesn't get used. I think there's a communication opportunity to tell people where all that parking is.
Agreed.
And then find a way to reinforce that you can park your car in one spot and then walk around. Now, is it convenient for all of the shopping that you're going to do? If you're having large packages, you're right though, Karen, there's also the overlap between the hours for retailers being open and then when most of the restaurant business comes, one ends and the next starts. So there is a little bit of overlap, but that could be an opportunity.
Again, there's an opportunity for compromise there. And let's be honest,
you're right.
Nobody's buying a washing machine on Hubbard Avenue, right? So, the need for the car is something else. But I do want to come back to your initial point as well, Andrea, but Katie, why don't you weigh in here first?
Yeah, my question is, are we going to get those trolleys back for the I know the hotels are the ones who, consign with them, but wouldn't it be interesting if people were directed to park near one of the trolley pickup points? And if there was a pretty regular schedule for the trolley, you could park at Greenway Station and get yourself all the way down here and back, and that would free up a lot of the spaces around the Middleton Center.
Fully agree. We should absolutely do that, Katie. Whatever way it's possible to do that, I fully support it.
I don't know if the trolleys are coming back, but
They're not, I don't know that it's planned on yet. I'm not sure that tourism has that planned until the hotels get to whatever the capacity is at the hotels. But one thing that we have done for some of the DMBA events, we've used the parking at it's the building just, it's on terrace just under the Highway 12 overpass. It's the VA Center.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And they've been very generous for events. I think Capitol Brewery uses it for overflow parking as well. For a couple of our events, we actually, for downtown Middleton, hired a special trolley, had parking set up in that lot. And then we just had a custom route that came around just focused on downtown Middleton. So there are opportunities to do that, I think.
So
And if
before
you miss the
Kari
trolley,
comes-
that's still only 2 blocks. It's not like it's that far.
Yeah.
So
next will be Kari Oaks, but Angie, I do want to let you know the city paid TIF money to that lot you are talking about, and we have the agreement that after 7 o'clock or after a certain time, we have the right to be able to park
okay.
there. So
Yeah.
it is actually, that use is already in signed paper. So it's there. Yeah, in any way, at that time it becomes the city parking lot, more or less. Kari?
So, thank you. So I had thought about, actually, Katie, I'm so glad you raised the issue of the trolley because I wanted to ask about that for this meeting anyway. And so I think that's a great idea. And then the other thing I had wondered for some of these street closure events or in the dead of winter is if there might not be an opportunity to do a fundraiser that would involve trusted adults doing valet parking to this remote location for people who chose.
Good idea. Mike Davis. Kari, are you done? I don't know. I don't hear you. Kari?
Did you call on me, Mayor?
Yeah, I don't, you think the Kari is done?
Probably not. I think she lost her connection.
Okay, so should we give her another couple of minutes or few more seconds? Kari? Well, okay, Kari's back now. Kari?
Yeah, so sorry. Did you hear anything?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. I just was proposing maybe we could think about volunteers doing valet parking for some of the
Yep,
strolling.
we
events.
heard that part.
Yep,
so-
that's all. That's all.
Okay,
Sorry about
Okay.
that.
Mike Davis.
Mayor,
Mike?
what you said is true. The Veterans Health Administration parking lot becomes a public parking area after 6 o'clock in the evening and all weekend long. And that was by agreement with TIF agreement. So there is a great deal of parking available and it's not a long walk. It's about a quarter mile to Stonehorse Green from there at most.
Mhm.
Well, no, about a quarter mile to Stonehurst Green. So it is available and we could probably advertise it a little bit more. I don't believe the building owner would have a problem with that, Steve Cohen,
Mhm.
who is going to be one of our donors to the Stonehorse Green. I won't say how much because Abby's got a news release ready to go out soon. But we can do more to advertise that. And when the trolleys are back, which might be this fall, it's too soon to say due to the COVID restrictions. But if it does come back, it probably would be this fall or next spring is my estimation. I know that Badger Bus is probably not quite ready to do that at this time either.
Thank you, Mike.
I guess so part of the point of all that is we know that parking is something that as a downtown business community, we need to be working on. And I do think a lot of it's communication. just communicating to people what are all of the parking options. It's something that we've had on our list of things to tackle for a while, just to help get the word out to people. I remember I gave a talk at the chamber even before I took over as the president of DMBA, and just threw out, guess how many parking lots there are in downtown Middleton? And people were shocked at how much parking there really was. They didn't know, they had no idea all the lots that are downtown. There's just this perception. So anyway, that's why I brought parking up as something to take on. But again, the marketing communication coordinator is somebody who will be helpful in that role to help pull all of this together and develop the marketing materials. And then how that fits into our event strategy is obviously important, because then it does allow us to do things like maybe, we've talked with Mustard Museum about shutting down and spreading mustard days out. And I know they're working on lots of plans and ideas. They have reached out to businesses for feedback. And that was one where we thought that does make sense to close down Hubbard coming around. So, we're not opposed to street closures. We just need to be thoughtful in how we go about them.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and Andrea, I think, look, there's a conversation to be had here, because I think communication is the key as well. When you look at the greater Madison area, there isn't a single State Street, I guess, is somewhat pedestrianized, but an area like this with restaurants and so on that brings people to it, that's, pedestrianized, walkable and strollable, it doesn't really exist. And if it did, can you imagine the draw it'd be from people from all around the area? Verona, Madison, Sun Prairie, who knows? You'd have people coming here. So I think there's a conversation to be had there. There's quite a number of us here on the CDA who really want to see that kind of movement in our downtown, right? To make it more attractive from that perspective. And I do think the business owners would see a benefit from that as well. But I agree with you. Just as there's a communication issue on parking, there's a communication issue on why we, for example, think this is a good idea. So I'd love to have an opportunity with the DMBA to have that discussion and debate. But I feel like that's a very important topic that we need to discuss and address. But I want to come back to your point around the marketing coordinator and so on as well. I have one request for you. So you've come and you've given us kind of highlights from last year. Yep. Hopefully the DMBA had asked, is it Sarah, I think, was doing the marketing communication? All right, give a written report of what you've done. We would like to see that. We need to see, okay, what were the achievements? How did you move the needle with this expenditure? And I think in principle, we want to support the DMBA, but we want to know what's the net effect of the funds that we're providing for that kind of thing as well. The TINs, I forget what we're calling them, but
local love.
Right, yes. The local love, that's disappointing, obviously. I'm sure it's disappointing for you and your fellow DMBA members. It's disappointing for us. It's compounded for us that, there's an agency problem here as well. We provided the funds on a essentially kind of a forgivable loan type basis. But that means, where's the risk for the DMBA? So it's just, it turns the dial up a little bit for us when we start saying it didn't work out as planned. We need to understand a bit more about why from that perspective. So, and again, our whole goal is we want to be supportive of our businesses. We want to have a really thriving downtown. We want to support the DMBA, but we also need to be stewards of the resources that the CDA has as well. And we've got lots of folks who are coming looking for things. And we're trying to make sure that we're, putting some kind of pressure to make sure they're put to good use. Okay, so I think that's the points that I want to make. That's my one request would be to have that kind of a written report on the impact of the marketing communications coordinator for 2020.
Okay, so is what I just mentioned okay? Quite honestly, beyond just giving it to you verbally, I would, I don't know. We don't have the resources to write reports. We really don't. We really don't. Like I should be working at the restaurants right now. We have no servers at 2 restaurants.
Right. But
so spending time even giving you the verbal summary has been a big deal. And it's not that we're trying to hide anything. We're not trying to be upfront. Businesses do not have resources right now. What I can say though, on the local love, we did recoup our costs. So we can return the $4,000 that you fronted on it, that we can pay back, which is then where we're saying, now can we have help? Because again, until we get to the wine walk, which brings more money in, our bank account is getting pretty low to be able to bring another communication coordinator on.
Right. And okay, on the first issue, in terms of time and you being fully stretched, fully appreciate that. Many of us are, okay? Even, you know, I think you've got folks who are in this committee who are time stressed as well. But it's more a case of if it's the same person who's coming back to do the marketing coordination again this year.
It's not.
It's not, okay.
It's not. That's part of our challenge. That's why local love sales fell off. The woman that we hired got a full-time job the end of December with the Red Cross. So we haven't had her since December. We brought somebody in March on a trial basis who just was not good. And our ability to be able to just interview and, you know, advertise and interview, it's been pretty rocky in the first 4 months of the year to be able to find the right person to bring on board.
Okay, Dan Barker and then Kari Oaks.
Thank you, Mayor. This question is for the committee. How is this position and the funding of it different from what the existing tourism board does? And further, potentially what down the agenda that position would do? For me, it seems like this position would be more for the private interests of the DMBA versus the other position that might be more for all of Middleton. Thank you.
Kari?
Well, can anyone answer that? I don't mean to interrupt.
I can respond to that actually. I'm sorry, Mayor, please. And then, yeah, please. So I had another point to make, but I would say, Dan, that I think it's premature to discuss funding the marketing coordinator until that down agenda item is thoroughly discussed and explored. And so I think that we need to talk first about what CDA, and we might not get to it on this meeting, but we need to talk first about whether CDA wants to begin funding somebody dedicated to the interests of all of downtown, not just the commercial interests of downtown. Was the first thing I was going to say. And the second thing I was going to say is that I think I really appreciate what you're saying. And I'm hearing like from all of us that we're a little ragged at this point in the pandemic. I think many of us have had some of the hardest years professionally and personally of our lives. And so I completely hear you, Andrea, and you can't imagine backtracking and pulling out statistics and doing a report and everything. And at the same time, I'm going to say that it's been pretty clear, at least since I joined the CDA, and Kathy Olson has been on board with this too. Every time we give money, we ask for a written report. And I think if we backtracked in the minutes, you'd probably see that. So I totally hear what you're saying, but I also just want the point recorded in the minutes that that's still, it might not be an expectation you all are able to meet right now, but it doesn't change what the CDA's underlying expectations are.
Okay, and that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Kari. So this is more for information. So I think there's no action on this one, Abby.
Well, I did anticipate that the CDA may want to take action on this item. I do just want to mention that on the part-time employee to focus on downtown, I don't really have much in the way of an update at this meeting. What we are working on, Daphne Shu in our office is working on collecting job descriptions from other communities, but I wouldn't anticipate that position would start likely until the spring of next year, because that's when we would really, March, we would really want to start doing some programming for the green, which would open in the summer. So I wouldn't think we would have anybody starting in this position unless the CDA disagrees, probably until March of next year.
So here, we don't really have any proposals, so I don't know. I think the two things, one is that the committee, as Kari and the others have mentioned, they would like to see something in writing and then needed some proposal. I don't know what to act on it here, so. I think, is that okay with the rest of the committee? I mean, we got the information, we need something before we can act on anything, right?
I just, Mayor, I'm just wondering, Dan put a pretty straightforward question and asked for committee input, and I had my hand up already, but I didn't mean to close that discussion by talking about something else too.
Yeah, I guess I agree with Dan. We need to serve the whole area, whole downtown. So that's, is that how everybody else feels too?
Well, with, not to discount the service Andrea is providing. We can't provide that now. That's what I'm hearing. We can't do it till spring. And what I really want is people to be able to enjoy downtown Middleton this summer, this fall, this winter. And if Andrea can provide this service that we can't, then I think our hands are kind of pressed.
Yeah, so we still need some proposals, So Abby, you're going to work with Andrea to come up with something?
Well, the proposal that I had originally sent in, so we're thinking this is a 30-hour-a-month position. There's 6 months of the year, and we're looking for a $20 an hour person. We were paying Sarah more than that because she was doing more graphics and whatever. We thought maybe, we didn't know that we're going to find another Sarah. So we thought maybe we could restructure the position a little bit, and it's a $20 an hour position. So it's $3,600 basically by the time we hire somebody now and get them on board for the rest of the year. If that gets us to the wine walk in September, then, that's a $1,800 front. And once we get through the wine walk, then I think, we're going to sell tickets. I'm convinced of that. And so then we'll be in a much better position.
So you're asking, so the proposal here is for $1,800 then, is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Well, let's hear from the committee, so. I didn't see that proposal, Abby, maybe I missed it, so. I just saw there was an update, so.
I thought that, and it's been them, I thought I'd sent that before last month's meeting when I wasn't able to attend. And I might have had that wrong, Abby.
Andrea, can you work with us on closing off the streets?
We're not opposed to closing streets. I just want to make sure that we're thoughtful and like when are we
That's
closing them
fair.
and what are they being closed
That's
for?
fair.
Yeah.
Let's just come to the table and let's
Yeah.
make something happen this summer. That's what I want. I want
Yeah.
people to be able to enjoy that area. You guys are going to profit because it's going to be chock full of people. I guarantee.
Well,
Please, I know it.
I mean,
and we
maybe,
get parking
I
at the
mean,
end.
maybe if we can't staff it, then it doesn't matter how many people come. I mean, we're
Understood.
literally at risk of not being able to be open. We're at
That's
risk of
fine.
having to close because we don't have enough staff right now. So
I hear what
there's,
you're
there's
saying.
just a lot of competing factors going on right now.
And you and me both, we've all taken a hit. I hear what
Yeah.
you're saying, but we all have. Yep, we're there with you, but we want to support you.
Yeah,
So
no,
I
get that.
appreciate,
I get that.
I appreciate
get
you
that.
coming to the table. Thank you.
I get that. But when I think about things like the wine walk is one of the events, that's partially where it doesn't really fit in the stroll because you can't stroll while you're drinking wine unless we can do something differently with the street shut down and you're allowed to have wine out on the street, which right now is not allowed. And
But we
again,
made
it's not
progress
just
with the
on-
Stone Horse Green though, right? People
What's
can
that?
people can buy alcohol at your store and drink it in Stone Horse
They
Green.
can, but we can't sell it in an open container to go across the street. It has to be in a sealed container. So for a wine walk, and that's not just going to Stone Horse Green, the wine walk is spread out over 20 some odd businesses beyond just Hubbard Avenue. Sorry for my
Okay.
dog.
We can work out the details, but
Yeah.
do we
So
want
there's
to,
just a lot of details to work out. I'm sorry, Mayor.
yeah, But that's a good point that we want to make it walkable and strollable, and we can try closing that over the weekends and see how it goes. So do we have any, how do you want to handle it? Since we didn't really have anything on the packet from which I can see, it was update for the downtown Middleton Business DMBA, request for support for marketing community.
Can I make a proposal? If I put the written report together for your next meeting, is it in June, your next meeting, or are you doing?
Yeah,
one?
that's probably the best way to go.
And then we'll
and-
put the official proposal together
Okay,
as part of
okay,
that.
all right, let's go with
June
that.
10th, Andrea, the packet will go out before then though. So we'd need it a few days earlier.
When will that be?
The meeting will be held on June 10th. So if we could get a proposal by June 4th, the Friday
Okay.
before, that would
Great.
be best.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, we can put that together.
Okay, thank you, Andrea. We are here to help.
Thank
We
you.
want to work together. We want to make downtown successful. We want it walkable, strollable, and for you to be happy and successful. Thank you.
And we
Okay,
appreciate that support. Thank you.
okay, thank you. Item number 4. So Abby, you said you don't really have any more information. You are collecting it, right?
Yeah, we're working on it. We've had quite a few other things going on in the last few weeks in our department, so this hasn't been our top priority because my thinking was this is something that's happening in the spring. I
Okay.
have had some initial conversations with Julie Peterman, and we are collecting job descriptions, and our plan would be to put together a draft job description and bring that back to you for consideration.
Okay. Item number 5, community events for downtown and in the parks.
And Dan Barker asked for this item to be placed on the agenda.
Dan, go ahead.
Sorry for the delay. I'm just wondering, what do we need to do to make this happen? We alluded to it before with the DMBA, and I stated a few reasons why I think it's important that this position should not be funded by a private entity, and therefore with the private entity's interests at heart. You heard me press. I want to make Stonehorse Green a place to be this summer. Everybody said it over and over again, pent up demand. Here it is. I don't know if you guys have been out there, but again, I said it with Andrea, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce her name, but I was out there like the first warm day we got there, and it was wall to wall people. So I think there's a lot of opportunity here. There's a lot, people are feeling good. I know sometimes in the news it's different, but I know in Middleton, people are feeling good. They want to connect again. I think we need to focus on some small tactical wins. And I think that would include making things happen around Stonehorse Green, making it a place where during the day families can come. In the evening, adults can come and have a nice dinner, maybe a drink, walk around, see some friends. I think that position could really help make that happen. And well, it's not going to be till spring, but I think it'd be wonderful. Thank you.
And also we could have regular events, it's a question of putting things in place. Once they're in place, they start happening. Actually, that's what you would want with, every Saturday, what's happening in the Stonehorse Green. And, that's the kind of thing would be wonderful. So then people know what to expect. So I'm with you.
Exactly, Mayor. And I think that position could touch the different groups and plug in and figure out what they need and get that common thread going across. And our charter is mostly for downtown, but I think this position could spread out across all the city. Sorry to interrupt.
And that would be wonderful, okay?
Yes, so just in support of this, I know this is kind of thing we've talked about quite a bit, and it's just time to get something done. Let's start doing it. Let's put some funding towards hosting events. The issue, of course, is who's going to do it, how are they going to get organized and all the rest of it. And I see Abby nodding, and the plan is to do this as pop-up light as possible, right? So it's a case of, all right, have we got a singer who, you know, essentially shows up and they can set up their speakers and there's no seating or anything needed. It's just away you go. I also wouldn't limit this just to Stone Horse Green either. Let's look at some of the other areas around downtown. And I would, you know, again, depending on how we define our remit, I wouldn't be opposed to it happening in some other of the city of Middleton parks as well. But I just think, you know, get outside, enjoy the summer, brought to you by the CDA. And I think that's going to be a really important part of this as well, is that, you know, we need to communicate more of that the CDA exists, what it's doing for the city, and get that support. A lot of what's been done, or, you know, seems to have been done in the past, has been us, the silent partner alongside another entity that's organizing this. And that leads into some of the kind of conversations, which, you know, it seems like it was a little awkward with Andrea in this past conversation, which is not the intent. I think we all recognize we want to be supportive, but we also need to recognize the CDA needs to be recognized for this. We need to be good stewards of our resources, and we need to, you know, highlight to the city, like, this is happening, get involved. Here's an opportunity to get out and do things. So I'm in support of doing something like this. Stone Horse Green definitely is a focal point, but would explore opportunities to not limit it to that. And again, we need to try and figure out how to do this as labor light as possible in terms of just getting this up. And it's, you know, is it a kids show that they typically are doing kids parties, but now they're going to show up next to the city hall or the library and put on a show for kids? Great. We got a singer who's, you know, maybe one of the restaurants was already paying to come along one night a month. Maybe we put in an extra night a month. Stuff like that. Let's just try and figure out how to do this as light as possible, but definitely let's have some CDA sponsored community events to get people outside and enjoy the summer.
Wonderful. I think we are all aligned. So I think, and I also agree that there are places besides Stonehorse Green, Lakeview Park, all of those, you know. So just putting those events, just making this whole city vibrant, where the whole metropolitan wants to come here, you know, and we can do it. And the Cairn village or town or city can have that opera going there. We can make new things happen here too. Okay, we are on to the last item, which is ideas for improving the downtown and discussion of draft art master plan. Abby, or do you want to do it at next meeting?
Well, this was kind of also a topic that Dan had suggested, and I included the draft arts master plan on here too, because at the last meeting, you all asked to take a look at that. So I just included it in your packet so you'd have it for reference.
Yeah, I looked at it a little bit. So Dan or anyone else who wants to?
Yeah, just to chime in briefly, I think these folks have done a great job. They've got a great plan. They've got a lot of great ideas. If anything, I would draw your attention to the very last, way down below, and I'm scrolling and scrolling, but basically it talks about their challenges. Been reaching out to a few of those folks too, and seeing how we can partner, because, you know, we've got a lot of the same things we want to do in common. So I'm just wondering if we might be able to further that partnership, perhaps extend some budgets. And I'm still scrolling. I think I'm gonna drag it down here.
It's on, if you have the packet, it's on the last page, page 61.
Yep. Overcoming obstacles. Yep. So, you know, at the end of the day, I'm just like, what can we do to help these guys out in overcoming these obstacles? In speaking with some of them, they've stated there's been some budget challenges. I'd like to propose we help them out. I'd like to, you know, offer any assistance we can. Thank you.
Does anybody have any connection to Pleasant Roland? I have been asking, so I haven't really had the time to develop any connections, but if somebody does, please let me know, okay?
Sorry, I missed that. Any connection to which entity, Mayor?
Oh, Pleasant Roland. So she started the American Girl and she raised, it helped her became almost a billionaire. She sold that company for $7 million. So she has given a lot of money to Madison. So only even $5 to $10 million for Middleton would be awesome.
Apart from
But-
having two young daughters who are fans of her creation, I can't offer further assistance on that front. But I do think, just because this ties back into the conversation earlier around the trolleys and so on as well, I'm conscious we're well over time on today's meeting, so I don't want to keep it longer. But I think we want to, I think some of us have started reaching out to some of the other committees, but we absolutely want to try and touch base with the Arts Committee, with the Tourism Committee, Parks and Rec, and just try and figure out where are the crossover points where we can all help. Again, as opposed to having everything just have to be juggled through City Hall with already overstretched employees. So I think that's an action that we can all take as committee members to reach out to our fellow public servants and try and figure out how we can work better together.
I'm with you 100%. Any further comments before we adjourn?
Sorry, Mayor, Dan Barker, just real quick.
Yeah.
Abby,
go
is
ahead.
there anything we can do with the Arts Committee?
So sorry, I was in my son's bedroom and he's going to sleep, so I needed to
Oh,
come
I'm
downstairs and
sorry.
switch. So what was your question, Dan?
Sure. We went over kind of obstacles they had. I'm just wondering,
Yeah.
is there anything you can think of that we could do to partner and help
Oh,
out the Arts
yeah.
Committee to make some things happen for them?
Definitely, yeah. They're meeting next week on Thursday, and they've got a couple of pretty active projects that they're working on. One of them is a street notes project where they're going to order custom-made stencils that have like quirky facts about different things that happen in downtown Middleton, and they're going to spray paint those facts onto the sidewalk adjacent to the property where that thing occurred. They're also working on a utility box art wrap project that hasn't really gotten very far. And they have a grant proposal in right now to the AARP to do a senior of high school and senior age collaborative art project. So they have a few things that are like kind of low cost, quick action things that aren't too big of a lift on their staff member, which is me. But yeah, they're doing a lot. They would certainly appreciate funding support because their annual operating budget is $5,000 a year. That's it. And they are responsible for handling all the maintenance of the existing collection. And if it were maintained appropriately, they would probably spend their entire budget just on maintaining the collection. So of course they'd appreciate support. They are working on a proposal right now for an initiative that would be tied to TIF projects that would dedicate 0.5% of any TIF incentive that any developer gets in the city toward public art that could either be on the property of the developer or could be selected at a different location within the TIF district by the Arts Committee. So that's a big thing that could really be a game changer for them if they're able to get support for it from the City Council.
Thank you, Abby. So in light of that, would the next course of action be perhaps that group proposes something to us and we vote it on the next meeting, or I defer to the mayor and the group?
Well, Abby, any way you like to go forward? I guess I think I like, what Ken proposed too, that developing more connections with the other committees, and maybe the art is probably the one we could start with, but parks, as well. So Abby, what do you want to do next? So maybe some of the people from CDA attend the arts committee meeting and see what's going on there, and then come up with some solutions together.
We could
I
do
think
that. Yeah, we could even have a joint meeting of the two. That's what we're doing. Workforce housing and sustainability are having a joint meeting next month.
I
So we
think
could do that.
let's do that. Would you guys like that, Karen and Dan and others?
Yeah,
I would, but I think it also involves some form of funding proposal, does it not? I'd hate to just talk about it in circles rather than get something going.
Well, so ask the art committee to come bring some proposals. So we will look at it then.
Very
I
good.
can put that on their agenda for next week.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay, anything else, folks? Okay, need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Need a second? Okay, I second it. And I want to say thank you to everyone. This was a little bit long meeting. We covered a lot. Okay, so thank you. Great job. All those in favor of the motion to adjourn, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? So we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.